Good morning, everybody. This is a Dvar Torah brought to you from TorahAnytime.com, broadcasted from Magen David in Los Angeles. This week's parasha is the parasha of Emor. Emor el Kohanim b'nei Aaron. A lot of the laws in the parasha have to do, the beginning part at least, with Kohanim. And the first pasuk says, Emor el Kohanim b'nei Aaron. Tell the Kohanim, the children of Aaron, ve'amarta alem, and say to them. So what is the redundancy for? So Rashi explains, Emor ve'amarta lehazir gdolim v'naktanim, that it's an obligation for the elders, for the parents, to educate the children already when they're small for Torah and for mitzvot. We see from here how important it is for parents to start educating the children from a young age, teaching them Torah, educating them in the mitzvot, putting them in the right education, the right schools. We see this obligation in the Shema Yisrael as well. The Shema Yisrael, the most holiest part of the Tefilla, where we are accepting the yoke of Hashem. We say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We're declaring Hashem is one. What do we say afterwards? Veshinantam levanecha. And you have to teach your children. V'dibarta bam. What does this mean? It means, Hachamim explain us, it's not good enough that you accepted the yoke and the kingship of God on yourself. You have to afterwards pass it on to your children too. What you accepted, if you didn't give it over to your children, it doesn't mean anything. God, Hashem, is not interested in that. V'shinantam levanecha. Give that over to your children. V'dibarta bam. And speak to them about it. You have the obligation to teach them Torah, to influence them, to show them the right path, to take the Torah and the mitzvot. Like it says in the pasuk, in the Shema, when are you supposed to teach them Torah and mitzvot? V'shivtecha bebetecha, at home, u'v'lechtecha b'derech, even when you're walking with them on the streets, right? When at night, in the morning, day, 24 hours a day, a parent has an obligation to show his children the right way, derech eretz, right? The right midot tovot, the good characteristic traits that he needs to have, good ways a person needs to go to, mitzvot, Torah, and so on. It says Rashi something very scary. Ve'im lo asa ken, if you didn't do so, says Rashi, harehu ki'ilu kovro. It's like, God forbid, bar minan, you're burying your child alive. It's an amazing thing. A person looks at this Rashi, doesn't give his children a Jewish education. Rashi says it's like burying a child. It's amazing. You see parents today, for example, every father, every mother wants so much for the child, wants the child to be so happy. Each time the child wants something new that comes out, we go out of our way to make the child happy, to buy the child what they want. If God forbid the child is sick as well, we go out of our way to do everything to make sure the child is going to feel better, the child is good. So this is what we do when it comes to physical things. Why is it when it comes to spiritual things, we take the middle path, so to say? Not now, the child is young. But why doesn't the child do Birkat HaMazon? You know, the parents always say the same answer all the time. He's young now. When he's older, he'll do it. Why doesn't he come to shul now? He's too young. When he's older, he'll come. Why doesn't he say Shema Yisrael? He's too young. Why is it that his clothes are not fitting for Shabbat? Why is it that the girls are not dressing up with tzniut? They're too young. When they're older, they don't understand now. They're not old enough now. And why is a child speaking like this? It's not the derech of speaking, to speak in such a manner, in such a tone. Too young. And all the time that we hear parents coming up with the same excuse, it's too young. Many times we see parents the same way. When children want to come and learn with their parents, what does the father say? Oh, I'm too tired now. Later on, come to me. But it's amazing. When it comes to something physical, we jump for the kids. We do everything. We make sure that in the best leagues, baseball leagues, basketball leagues, and everything. When it comes to teaching them Torah, hiring them a Rebbe to come and teach them, to get their education better, that's already, it's not so important. How many people do we know when it comes to the maths in school? Parents are already in math clubs all the time, making sure their kids are studying math. When it comes to Gemara, comes to Talmud, comes to Chumash, it's okay as long as my son knows how to read a little bit, how to understand a little bit, that's fine. Says the Torah, that is not the right approach. V'shinantam levanecha is after we say Shema Yisrael. A person could say Shema Yisrael the whole day, and you can accept the yoke of Hashem all day long. But if he doesn't give the kids the right education, show the children, show our kids how important Torah is, how important mitzvot are, Shema Yisrael is not worth anything. There's a story that's told over of parents who were living in the south of Israel. And at the time, things weren't going so well. There were many succos coming in the south of Israel. This happened a few years ago. And the parents decided to move. His job actually made him move to the center of Israel. He had to move jobs. And the parents said, no problem. We'll move, but we have one rule. Our daughter cannot go to a school in a far location where she has to take a bus. Because at that time, unfortunately, there was many bombs happening, terrorist attacks happening in Israel, and buses were blowing up. So the parents only had one daughter. They were very protective over this daughter. They go to a place called Ramat Gan in the center of Israel, and the school that they wanted to put their daughter was a very far distance. They had to take a bus. And the parents said, I'm sorry, that's no good. So they found a school closer, but that school was a religious school. And the parents were very secular. But they said, look, the daughter's only young, our daughter is small. Who cares? Put our daughter in a religious school. We'll tell our daughter that these things are not so important in life. So the daughter comes home every day and tells the parents, what did you learn? And she says, I learned about Shabbat. The parents say, yeah, but we don't keep Shabbat. What did you learn today? Sarah. She says, today we learned about you have to make a blessing before we eat on food. Yes, but don't worry, it's not our custom. We don't do that. After a few months, on the Erev Shabbat, the Shabbat Eve, the daughter comes home and says to her parents, Mommy, Ima, I learned today that we have to light Shabbat candles. And the mother says, yes, Sarah, I told you, that's only the fanatics, they do these things. We don't do all these things. Everything they teach you in the school about religion, we don't do it at home. Okay? The girl was very upset. She learned how important it is for a lady and a girl to light the Sabbath candles. So she goes downstairs, she goes to the store, to the makolet, and it was just about to close. And she says, can I have Shabbat candles for home? And the owner of the makolet knows this family is a very secular, they don't like Shabbat candles. So he thought in his mind that she must be asking for memorial candles that you light when your father and mother passes away, when somebody passes away. So he gives her 2 memorial candles to take home. Okay, she goes home, she thinks these are Shabbat candles, and she cannot light them in the living room. So she goes to her bedroom, and she locks herself up in the bedroom. The father comes home Friday night and says, where's Sarah? So the mother says, I don't know, she's in her bedroom, maybe she's playing. They knock in her bedroom door, Sarah's bedroom door, and they open up the door, and they're shocked to see 2 memorial candles lit in the door, in her room. So the father screams, Sarah, what are you doing? What is this? And with a nice, sweet toned voice, she says, Abba and Mommy, these are for you. One is for you, Abba, and one is for you, Mommy. And the father looked at Sarah and started to cry with tears. And the parents looked at each other crying. And they said, what do you mean? What is this? This is a memorial. What are you doing? He said, what do you mean? These are my Shabbat candles. Mommy didn't let me light Shabbat candles, so these are my Shabbat candles. And the father and mother took the message of saying, and the little girl saying to them, Abba, you're dead. This is one for you. And Mommy, you're dead. This is a candle for you too. This shocked them so much that slowly but surely, they let the child do what she liked to do, continue to do what she was taught in the school, and gradually they all repented and did Teshuvah, and it became Shomer Torah and Mitzvot. The parents suddenly started to keep Shabbat, started to light Shabbat candles, and the story goes as told that the parents used to buy Shabbat candles for the whole building. We see, ladies and gentlemen, how important it is. Don't give our kids wrong messages. We put our kids into Jewish school. What message are you giving them when they come home? It has to be the same. The message has to be the same. They can't learn something in a Jewish school and come home and you teach them something else. So everything's important. Secular studies are important and Jewish studies are important too. But let's make them at least equal. Let's show our children, we know that maths is important. Let's show them that Jewish education is important too. Remember, we say the Shema Yisrael every day. But remember, it's only important if we teach this education to our kids too. Have a great week.